Alright guys, welcome to the BlinkCast, and this is going to be our first episode, and we're going to talk about game-related news, and I'm here today with
Christian,
Mustafa,
Chris,
and Reed.
Alright, so today what we're basically going to talk about in this pilot episode is just bring some basic news about the gaming industry, talk about some campus-related news, and just what's happening right now, kind of get the idea of our podcast out, maybe find an audience type, and yeah, see what's going on. So, background story about us, we're all either computer science majors or game design majors at DSU. And one big thing that just recently was going on was the Global Game Jam. So, why don't you guys talk about that?
well, we are all actually from the same team. That's why we decided to start this podcast here. You can check our game on the Global Game Jam website. It's called Within a Heartbeat. There was a lot of great games. Did you guys play any of the other games outside of DSU?
I think one game that's really popular right now is Surgeon Simulator 2013.
Mhm.
Yes,
totally,
I
totally.
played that. I played that.
Did any of you guys actually win this game? Like, did you finish
I
it?
did not. I got to the point where I ripped out the heart with my bare hands, and then because that's what surgeons do, obviously.
Right.
And
that's-
then after that, I knocked the replacement heart off the table, so I was screwed.
Basically, it's co-op, but with heart surgery.
Pretty much, yeah.
Have any of you ever played Octodad?
no,
I have not.
No, it's generally the same idea where you're trying to control this arm, which is just inhumanly floppy. Only you're an octopus trying to blend in his dad.
Imagine though adding a second arm to it, like you control one arm with the mouse and one arm with the
You control
keys.
his legs and his arms. So and because he's an octopus, he has no
That's
bones.
weird.
It gets pretty crazy.
Alright, yeah, so that was definitely one game that was actually made in the Global Game Jam, which is basically, it's a bunch of guys just like ourselves, and they get together, and over a weekend, they create everything from scratch, so that includes 3D modeling, sound effects, graphics, textures, and they make a game, and then they just upload it on the website, and people can play it. I think most of those games are free, even though Surgeon Simulator 2013 actually is on the Steam Greenlight.
Is it really?
Yeah, it actually was.
That's pretty impressive.
That is, especially for a game made by amateurs.
Well,
Oh.
those people were not amateurs. One of them worked at Sony, one of them
Ah.
worked at Activision.
I see.
I'm not sure about the other guys.
That's the thing about Global Game Jam. It's not just students there. There's people that get attracted from the
It's-
industry there. It's for fun.
It's all over
Designers
the world.
get together. I believe that one was made in the UK actually.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
there's people all over the place. There's people from New Zealand, there's people from Germany, obviously America, UK, all over the world.
Yeah,
The
there's
more-
even people from India.
The more games I play from around the world, the more I realize how much we suck
Well, if you
at doing
think
this.
about it, if you be realistic, we're here at DSU for like, what, one semester now?
Look,
We
all-
were
yeah.
pretty freaking awesome, not gonna lie.
Look,
Our
all
game
I'm
was
saying
pretty
is them
good.
Swedes, everything they've pumped out so far in terms of video games have been pretty fantastic.
Yeah, but
Okay,
look at this.
okay.
We're just a couple of freshmen who have been here for less than maybe 6 months, and we already made a game in 2 days. Made an actual working game in 2 days. Come on now.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. So, that's Global Game Jam, which is a pretty cool thing. I'm actually really looking forward to it next year. You guys are all
Well, yeah,
Planning
obviously,
them.
Yeah.
we're all gonna be together, probably, right?
Probably.
yeah, we're gonna be the same
together
team,
again.
and
Might be
definitely
minus a couple members if they.
We should totally make like a 3D shooter, guys. It's gonna be great, guys.
Go make
Yes,
Modern
dude. Let's make
Warfare.
Skyrim.
Yeah,
Let's make
Modern
Skyrim.
Skyrim.
All right, let's keep going here. So let's see. We have the Global Game Jam that happened last weekend, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you
well,
are
we
right.
all did not get any sleep, so we can't even remember it. Anyway, so another thing that's actually really cool about DSU is we have a game design club where we actually make games, like not over a weekend period, but over legit time. And it's not always computer games. You guys went to NanoCon last year?
I did.
I did not.
Yeah,
I wasn't here
NanoCon
last year.
is here in South Dakota on Madison. It's a small, made by our college. It's a small con where there's a couple of vendors and merchants. You know, some of the Magic the Gathering guys come here, and some of Dungeons and Dragons. And there's one group called Society of Shadows. It's like a role-playing thing. You guys went there or anything?
Yeah, well, you're kind of selling it short, Christian. It's the biggest gaming convention in South Dakota, basically. So yeah, that was still pretty much a lot of people.
Well, yeah, well, it was a decent amount of people for a town as big as Madison. And basically what the Game Design Club did that is only from DSU is we made a card game called Meme Base. And we would give out those free like sets of cards to the people who just would come in there. And then you could compete with each other. And there was 3 factions. And at the end of the NanoCon, we would just compare like how good each faction did. And it was a really cool thing. Like the Game Design Club really got together and we all talked about it. and it was a really great thing actually.
It
Actually sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I'll definitely be going next year.
Oh yeah, actually it's a requirement for students. Which
I guess
sad.
I will be
It
going
is.
next year.
Yeah,
or
it's a
else.
requirement because they're Jeff Howard. That's one of the game design professors here.
Yeah, he's
Oh, yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, he is pretty cool. Not gonna lie, I just love like how all the professors on DSU are like they're like friends more than professors.
Yes.
You know how in high school?
Well,
when-
maybe not Professor Palmer.
Palmer's awesome.
Homer's
though. I
awesome.
mean,
Come on.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know their names.
Anyway, so they had actually little speeches and programs where they would talk to the students of the game design community actually to how they would create games and stuff. So that was pretty cool, and I actually missed both of those, and I feel pretty bad about it. I'm not gonna lie, because I heard my roommate went there and it was pretty cool. Like they made.
yes, it was. I did go there. Basically, what we had was a brainstorming session where we had to come up with an idea for a game, not a computer game, but an augmented reality game where you take something simple like maybe sending an email and then you turn it into a game. So what we came up
But in real life.
in real life, yeah. So what we came up with was a plan that it'll be a creepy game where you get an email from a strange girl who tells you to go outside and take pictures of this landmark, for example, the DSU East Hall, maybe Beetle Hall, then comes back and sends it to her, and then it'll progress the story until it keeps getting creepier. You understand?
That's really weird.
Yeah, like those old chain letter emails where people will say you have to send this to 10 people or else something bad will happen to you within the next few days.
Just it's
Yeah.
like combined with the real life action game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you guys do you compare that to the human versus zombie thing? Is that it's kind of like that?
Yes, it would be something like that.
You-
That is a perfect example.
I think we should explain what.
Yeah,
that
I was
is,
gonna say,
though,
do you think
yeah.
you could explain that? I've actually, this is my first year here at DSU.
Okay,
I don't know anything about it.
Humans versus zombies. It's a pretty big deal here in Madison. It's mainly by the college community. Basically, what it is, it's a gigantic game of tag that goes over a 2-week period. But sometimes we have weekend games. But it goes over a 2-week period, and the entire town of Madison is basically part of the game. Obviously, you have to sign up for it. And basically, how it works is, all the people who are human have a bandana wrapped around their leg or arm, and if you're a zombie, you have it around your neck or around your head. And it's basically a game of tag. Just the zombies have to tag humans to turn them, and the humans have to either throw socks or shoot Nerf projectiles at zombies to stun them for 5 minutes. So it's basically a big game of tag, and it's in the entire city.
How do the humans win then if they can't kill the zombies?
Humans
but the
don't
zombies
have a
can
win
kill-
condition. If you're playing as a human, your objective is surviving till the game
Oh,
ends.
Okay, so there is a
actually,
way to end.
One of the last things in the game was like for the final mission, you were actually supposed to get to the objective point, and from there you would be theoretically rescued, and then you would win the game that way. We had like
So there's an extraction mission.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Pretty
what the
much,
final
yeah.
mission
Okay,
was.
cool. So the humans
I-
can win by just surviving.
It's really
Yeah.
hard to. I remember last semester when we played the game, the 2-week game. There was like 5 humans left, and it was literally like 70 guys, like zombies.
How do you identify who's a human?
Well, I said like the
Sad.
humans have a bandana around their arm or leg, and if you're a zombie, you have it around your head or your neck.
Oh,
neck.
okay.
Basically, upper body bandana, you're a human. Lower body bandana, you're a
No,
zombie.
no, no.
Oh, sorry, I saw it.
Other way
No,
around.
no,
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
it the other way around. Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. But yeah, anyway, let's keep going here. So that's what's going on campus right now. But let's see. So we have the Global Game Jam, which is kind of a way from the gaming industry to integrate all the new, the new meat, all the game design students basically into the gaming industry. So we have people from the gaming industry involved in the keynote speech for the Global Game Jam video. You guys remember that when they showed
Yes,
us like
Yeah.
they did.
where all over the world people were integrated in that. So yeah, what's going on in the game industry? Because there's a lot of stuff going on right now that we actually should mention here. It's pretty important.
What I really wanted to bring up, how many of you guys here have played a game by THQ? Just
I have.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's really sad day that they're starting to really plummet. They're not done yet. They haven't been sold out, but if their next games don't sell, they're pretty much finished. I know they have South Park, The Stick of Truth coming out. They have Saints Row the Fourth.
The South Park company was actually sold off.
It was sold to Ubisoft, in fact.
Everything.
Yeah.
Oh wait, it was like completely.
Yeah, it was
oh, wow.
completely sold to
Company,
Ubisoft.
The IP was sold off with it.
Oh no.
That is
Same
Yeah.
with Saints
They-
Row,
Saints-
everything.
Yeah, Saints
Yeah.
Row the Third saved this company literally.
But they are going to still make The Stick of Truth. It's pretty much a done deal.
All right, I actually saw that on Reddit. There was a picture of the CEO of THQ, and you guys all remember from Saints Row the Third, the dildo bat.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Penetrator.
The penetrator. And it was a picture of the CEO walking out of the building with the penetrator over his shoulder. And I don't remember what the caption for the picture was, but it was something like, "This shall continue," or something. It was pretty funny. So even though THQ took a big hit, as a company, they still are present.
They're not finished yet. Here's the thing: they're doing well, I'm no lawyer, so I can't exactly tell you the mumbo jumbo jargon of it all. But basically, what they're doing is they're selling off all the parts of the company to different places, and it's not really like they don't own them anymore. It's that they are now under someone else's command. But those people, the people they sold it to, will not really be interfering with them. They're trying to help them get back on their feet, essentially. They're going to sell their games and hopefully be able to form some sort of company again. If not, they've been sold out.
So some games that are affected by that is like we mentioned the South Park game, right? They had a role-playing game coming up, I think it was. I remember Company of Heroes 2.
Oh, yeah.
That I have played the first one. It is pretty good. It's really unique gameplay. Kind of similar to Dawn of War, but it's more realistic in a way with the entire cover system. Do you guys know any other games that are affected by that? I mean,
Darksiders 2, the Saints Row series.
Don't forget Metro.
Metro. Those are a few big ones.
Metro Last Night.
Yeah.
Homefront. Homefront is another one.
Oh, yeah.
They were. I believe the second one is still coming.
Well, sadly, Homefront didn't do that good in the first place.
It didn't, but that's because Homefront was generic shooter. Insert generic modern military shooter.
Basically, that's the problem with THQ's entire business policy, basically.
Well, I wouldn't exactly say that, because think of this. If a lot of gamers are looking for core games right now, there's always complaints like, oh, it's all Call of Duties now. Well, here's the thing. They made Darksiders 2. They made Saints Row the Third. They have made, like you said, Company of Heroes. I mean, they're making, not to mention, these are the guys who made the Warhammer 40k universe. And, well, not the universe, but the games. Yeah, obviously, the board games made the universe. But they are making these core games for core gamers, and they're still failing.
Yeah, well, the thing about Warhammer is you have great games like Dawn of War, but then you have the really awful pieces like Soulstorm, you know?
Also one thing that's about the entire... Like, I think THQ does a really good job at taking an idea that already exists and making it a little bit better. For example, I played a lot of GTA 4, and as an open world, shooter kind of thing where you play a gangster, it was really cool. But at some point, you drift off the actual story mission, and you just start messing around, and then you just get bored of it.
It was too serious.
And that's what they made so great about the Saints Row the Third. I just love because the missions basically tell you to mess around, and they add so much to it, to this concept that already exists. You don't get bored of it.
I'm never going to forget the very first mission that you do. First of all, you start trying to rob a bank, and you walk in, and people treat you like movie stars. You say, give me all your money, and they ask to take your picture with them. I don't know why these people are famous. You're literally going around murdering hundreds of people, and people will come up to you and be like, can I have your autograph? Sure. You take their autograph, and then you punch them in the nuts, and they'll thank you. What other game can you do that in?
Yeah, it's the same with Homefront. It was a generic shooter, but the multiplayer effect had a lot of nice features that you could not find in any other game. But sadly, because it was a military generic shooter, not a lot of people actually played that.
See, I would disagree with you about being a generic military shooter. Like, it really struggled to hit home with people. Like, it would include references to, like, Hooters and stuff, and it would try to make you feel as if you were actually a part of the game, as if you were actually being attacked yourself. And that's what I really loved about the Homefront game itself.
So you actually played it?
Yeah, I played it.
I didn't get to play it.
I played it, I've beaten it. It had a weaker ending, but that's why I'm glad that Homefront 2 is scheduled to come out.
My biggest problem with it was the same reason that I don't like any modern military shooter. Scripting. I hate having to stand there and say, like, I'd love to open this door, but unfortunately I am unable to. I do not know how to open doors. I can no longer shoot in this area at this moment. Why? Because. I can no longer run. Because.
That's a problem with almost all shooters. I remember playing the first Call of Duty, Big Red 1, and the entire game, it was walk in a straight line, shoot the people that are out in front of you, and hope that you can throw the grenade in a straight pattern.
But That was way back in the day. The very first Call of Duty. For the
time,
that it was
something.
Those were some good.
Those were actually pretty good.
But then again, you have games like Doom.
Yes,
it was different.
Good point.
So it really depends on the idea.
Doom was, obviously, it pretty much defined the first-person shooter genre. It's what started it all. And one of the things that they did that modern games no longer do is a modern game designer will spend millions of dollars making an area, and they want you to see it. And to make you want to see it, they force you to see it. In other words, there isn't multiple paths, and if there is, it's usually just like, it's a long corridor with big open area, then long corridor, then big open area.
I see exactly. That's kind of what I think about a lot of games, and I think when we did the Global Game Jam, we kind of got to know that too. It's like, why would you spend time and effort into creating a level or a part of a level that the player might not even get to see?
That's a good point.
That's exactly what it's probably.
Then again, we also did make one of those buildings. It was completely destroyed. There's no reason to go in it, but it was still there. And you could still go in it, and you could explore it. And a lot of people actually had a problem with that. A lot of people thought there should be something in here if this place is here. It shouldn't just be there.
But here's the thing. We were able to do that because we were a bunch of college freshmen, and it took us, I
did some tiles, and after 3-4 hours of doing those, we could build it all of ourselves.
Yeah, it didn't take us long, but now you compare it, where you, for example, in Call of Duty, I mean, that's probably a bad example because they recycle
They're recycling, but like the Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, their very first one where they had to actually originally make all those assets. I'm guessing that there's not a part in that game you can't skip because, well, for one, they wanted to make it like a Hollywood action movie. In a Hollywood action movie, they don't make sets that you can't see. You know, they didn't want to make anything in the game that the player wouldn't be forced to experience.
So the idea of creating a game that's more like a movie where you interact with, instead of...
Half-Life 2.
Yeah.
I want to bring that up as a good example. If there's a giant explosion going on in Half-Life 2 and you're turned the other way, you don't see it. Call of Duty, giant explosion happens, your head is for some reason forced to stare at it. You cannot turn away.
That's actually, I think, a reason, though, why the game industry is changing in general. Because if you think about it, when they put it's the money. That's what it comes down to.
Exactly.
Back in the day, you wanted to create a good game so people would buy it. Now you want to get money so you make a game that's pricingly, and then the price makes it work.
An article I was actually reading the other day was describing the CEO of Star Citizen. I cannot remember his name at the moment. It's Robert something. But anyways, he was saying how the developer-publisher relationship has changed greatly. It used to be that a majority of what the publisher paid for was marketing. Getting it on TV, getting it on the radio, getting it
on the Mountain Dew bottles.
Yes, getting it everywhere. That was a majority of what the game itself actually cost less or equal to the marketing. But of course, now as time went on, the developer, it cost more for them to develop this game, whereas the publisher is still putting out the same amount of money, meaning that developer, for months after that game's released, they don't see a penny from it. They are literally reliant on the developer, whereas back in the day, if their developer decided to ship up and say you're done, they wouldn't lose their company. They would just go to a different developer. Whereas today, if EA suddenly told BioWare, guess what? We don't really want you anymore. BioWare would be done. They couldn't go anywhere. They wouldn't have the money to function.
No one can buy a company at BioWare like that. It takes a lot of planning and financial...
Look at the team that made, I don't know if you guys have played this, Prototype and Prototype 2. They also made a game called Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction.
I played Prototype, and I think I played the Hulk game, yeah.
I think it was just several weeks after Prototype 2 came out, it didn't sell a lot in the first couple weeks, so guess what happened? Activision liquidated the company, sold it off, sold all the team members of it. It no longer exists. There can no longer be a patch.
Well, you guys have to remember, Activision is the devil.
Well, yeah, we can argue about that, but
that's a whole
there's a certain part of the gaming community that actually would agree with that.
Yeah.
One thing that you just gotta realize is, if you think about what type of gaming computers are now in people's rooms, just like we would have, it's a gaming rig that costs $800, and the amount of graphics and 3D objects that are in games nowadays, you cannot compare it to like Zelda or Ocarina of Time, where it would take where someone could probably make that game in a week. And now you think about a game like the newest Call of Duty, where it takes hours and weeks to create those high quality textures. And, well, maybe obviously Call of Duty does not have most of those, but
yes,
Skyrim, for example.
I was actually just going to bring up that counterpoint. Skyrim's a good example. For instance, the biggest thing I'd like to bring up is in the beginning there, you run up and you're following this guy. Here's the thing. He says, follow me. You can just say, screw you, I'm not going to follow you, and just go run off and do it on your own. At one point in there, he comes up and pulls the lever to drop a bridge. You know what you can do? Run ahead of him, pull the lever, drop the bridge, and just run straight ahead of him. You don't have to listen to him. You don't have to follow him. You just keep going.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. They were having a big gamble with that. Imagine if Skyrim was a flop. It wasn't, thankfully, but imagine if it would have been.
It might have been if it didn't have the other Elder Scrolls to back it up.
Yes.
Well, most games, they don't have the support or the financial support to make the high-end graphics, so they have to invest elsewhere. Like the game controls, if a game has really bad controls, no one will play it. Like, recently my little brother bought The Witcher 2, and he could not get past the part where you have to fire the giant crossbow because he didn't know how to move it backwards. So we bought the game for like $60. After 10 hours of playing it, he couldn't get past it, and we set it back down. If a game company can make good controls, have a solid storyline, and maybe even half-decent graphics, it'll sell well. Game is made of more than one big thing, and it's not just about the graphics or one other part.
But here's one thing that we all gotta remember. We have this entire new way of announcing games and showing games to the public. I mean, we pretty much know most of the gameplay trailers nowadays. A lot of explosions.
CGI.
Pumping dubstep in the background. Some protagonist shooting people in the face. Some kind of slow motion. And then there's a big, text fading in.
I mean, look, for instance, at the Bioshock Infinite cover art. It originally was... I can't even remember what it originally is, but they changed it, I know, to a man walking away dramatically from an explosion, holding a gun over his head with an American flag in the background.
The original cover art was basically, one of the American founding fathers.
Yes.
He was one of the founding fathers standing on a pedestal with a gigantic eagle on his head firing at foreigners.
But the reason, and they, this is something I actually enjoy about what they did. I believe it's, who makes it?
Bioshock?
Yes.
I honestly would not know that. I just started playing
2K.
the first one. 2K, right, yes.
This is something I liked about them, is they came out and flat out said, the reason we're changing the cover art is because we want to appeal to frat boys, and we figure that the rest of the market won't care. PC gamers won't care. You know why? They never look at the cover art. People who played the original Bioshocks won't care. They're still going to buy the game anyways. We're just opening up the market. At least they were honest about it.
And that's exactly what I'm saying. If you have a game that looks awesome but has terrible gameplay, it won't matter if you make it look cool on TV or on Facebook or on Twitter or on YouTube where you upload all your game trailers and screenshots. If you upload a screenshot of, let's see, we have the Crysis 3 beta going on right now, they just opened recently, and you have a badass guy in a cool looking suit firing an arrow from a bow that looks really awesome across the battlefield, it doesn't matter how many buttons you have to press to get that, it just looks cool, and that's what is the first impression. It's looks. It's just like in real life. Looks make the first impression until you start speaking. So if you don't have a gameplay that you can give to people as their first impression, they only gonna know about alpha footage and graphics. That's all they know. You can't control the game when you watch it on YouTube in a trailer.
That's actually something I'd like to bring up if we could move on to the next topic here. I would like to bring up my host topic for today in terms of gaming. A lot of games these days, I've just noticed, don't put out demos. Do you remember that? How it used to be, before you ever went and bought a game, you'd always download the demo. There's almost always one there. It'd be, even just 15 minutes to a half hour of gameplay, right. And that was it. And then you could say, I enjoyed my time here. I would like to make a full purchase.
Actually, that's a good point. It might be not for all games there. I mean, we do have the Crysis 3 beta, which is probably
pretty much a demo.
It's pretty much a demo, yeah.
A lot of companies are just labeling demos as betas today so that they can say, oh, that's not working, we're getting it fixed.
Yeah, well, basically what we've seen in today's market is that demos have been replaced by betas. And it's actually not a bad thing, because come to think at it, the purpose of a demo was to get people interested in that game, right? Whereas betas have another purpose. It's to help the makers of the game find faults in their game.
And that's a good thing, too. I think that they're doing a lot more betas lately because, one, that's a great marketing strategy. Say, word of mouth. Don't have an NDA on it. Which word of mouth will spread. Hey, I played that beta. It was really great. And not only are they getting testers and feedback, they're also getting free marketing.
But
There's a lot of games right now coming out for Steam, like with Greenlight. And the way that they get their word of mouth out is they post on specific blogs, like, say, RPG.com or GameSpot. And they just post on there about what their game is about. And games, maybe you haven't heard of this, it's called Recitaire. It was a $20 port from Japan, and it was made by 2 people. They ended up selling over 100,000 copies on Steam, and they're able to make more games.
That's the RPG where you play as the item shop instead of and you sell the items to the RPG characters that come in.
That's exactly correct.
I played that. That was actually pretty neat.
Yep, and how I learned about it was just off a website that I normally go to, a game forum.
One thing that I just thought about when we talk about comparison between demos and betas, sometimes, it doesn't happen a lot, but sometimes I feel like, especially not the AAA games, but more the smaller games, use that, not necessarily indie games, but some developers would kind of use it as an excuse, because if there was something that people wouldn't like in the beta, they would say, well, we might change that.
Minecraft?
That could be part of it, but here you gotta see,
it was in beta for like a year.
Had a constant update on betas. What I would be talking about...
It had an update every few months.
Well, but you gotta see, they actually put player input in it. What I would talk about, for an example, is Battlefield 3. We're doing the beta. It was terrible, especially for the PC. There was some major glitches. I mean, I have a video on my YouTube channel where I recorded myself just running straight in, and I would just drop and get stuck underneath the map, and I could look through all the textures. And here's the thing, it doesn't really give you the final experience that you want to know about. In the beta, they would say, this is what the game is kind of going to be like, and if you don't like it, well, we might change it, we might not.
I think a great example of that, PlanetSide 2. Everyone and their mother had a beta key to PlanetSide 2. I was giving them away on Facebook. And the amount that they changed that game, originally there was 5 different types of resources for leveling. Then they got rid of the need to level. Now it's just a battle rank. Then they got rid of, I forget what the other points were, like Araxis points or something like that. Now it's just cert points. They changed so much based on player feedback, and that's truly what a beta is for, is to get the players, the community's reactions, and say, this is why we should change our game.
But you gotta remember, PlanetSide 2 is a free-to-play game. I'm talking about games that once the beta is over and they release it, it's pretty much done. I mean, they will have patches eventually, but it won't change a big part of the gameplay.
Good point.
I'm pretty sure if there would have been, let's see, a beta for a game like Gears of War, they would have changed some of the things.
That was called Gears of War 1. That was the beta.
I guess you could say that.
It actually, that was actually revealed by the developer. That originally was supposed to be just a demo for a larger game, but it ended up taking off and became a full game itself.
Well, yeah. Well, if you look at it from a corporate perspective, betas are a way for game developers to say, hey, look, investors, we have something to show to you, without actually doing all the necessary work. Because if they're still dependent on demos, that would probably take them a lot longer to put out a finished product to show them.
That is true, but usually when you have a beta, let's say, I do remember quite well playing the Battlefield 3 beta. What a lot of people thought it was, I mean, as a player, I downloaded it on my computer, I thought that was what the gameplay is going to be like. So for me, it was a demo, when officially it was a beta. So if there was something wrong in the game in terms of gameplay, not necessarily engine glitches or texture failures, I'm talking about gameplay, I would tell people that, and if a lot of people would agree with me, then probably maybe at the end, when there's a big movement, the developer would change that. But then again, there is no demo for Battlefield 3. So you remember what you had in the beta, but they could literally say, well, that's not the final gameplay. So people who didn't like the beta could still say, meh, maybe it's better. So to find that out, they actually would have to buy the full game, which goes back to the point that we had in the beginning.
Yeah. See, the problem is, though, it's basically what you just said. That's a beta. And yeah, a lot of demos these days are just being labeled as a beta so that they can just gain feedback and change along the way, and they have an excuse to do so. But when the game actually comes out, there's no longer a beta. And if there's no demo, then all those people who got to try the game before it came out, they have a pretty good impression if they know what they might buy. Anyone new coming into the scene, they either just have to buy it or find a friend who has it so they can play it on theirs. They got no other way to experience it.
Well, yeah, I think one of the big controversies that's going on online would be the War Z.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure you guys all heard of that.
The War Z
Yes.
controversy.
And
Luckily, it was taken
I
off
have-
Steam.
I have to confess, I actually bought it because I actually was
Why?
really interested from the alpha. Because I did play it, and I did participate, and to be honest, I love this game. I'm not even going to lie to you. I know the game is completely crappy in terms of engine, textures, and gameplay. And
So it's crappy in terms of everything.
well, here's the thing though. There's certain aspects of the game that you cannot get from anywhere else. I play with my friends, and while we did have huge problems considering performance, and I mean, you hear all those crazy stories about how the developers treat the community, which, by the way, recently they've been doing really good. When you think about the idea, the content of the game is quite great, actually. And every time you get a kill in that game, when you play with a friend, it's the biggest adrenaline kick I ever got from any game ever. Even in Skyrim, after fighting the main dragon, I was like, meh, alright, I'm done with that story, let's go do some side quests.
that's
Where-
because that's Skyrim combat.
Yeah, but if you think about in the War Z, it's despite from all the hackers and what's going on, actually getting together with your friends and looting and getting a gun feels really great, and I really hope that game takes off. Long story short, why I mentioned this, I was drawn in by the alpha which they released, and they did not have a demo. So I kind of feel screwed over because they did promise a lot of good stuff, which will be great once it's there, but it isn't. So that's my problem right now. Is
They were lying.
well, not necessarily lying, but
No,
putting
they
out
were flat out lying on the Steam
false-
page.
false information, or well, saying things that weren't true yet, which basically is the
Yes,
same thing.
putting things that aren't true and putting out false information,
yeah.
that's lying.
I guess. But the thing is that's my point that I'm trying to make is, if there would have been a demo, I would have waited till the demo was there, see what the gameplay is finally like in a finished art and type, and then I'll probably have bought the game. I did buy it in the alpha, and now I constantly get promised stuff that doesn't really happen yet, and that's kind of like the idea that might be used by different companies too, and I don't agree with that.
I wouldn't actually have a problem with the War Z if they didn't consider this a final version. If they said, this is still an alpha, I'd be fine with it then. If they said, this isn't finished yet. Because clearly it's not. If you look at they have a whole list of features that say it's in the game. Obviously it's gone now. But they used to have a whole list of features that says it's in the game.
Exists. It's just not on Steam.
Oh, and it wasn't there. It was clearly not a finished product. And I feel very bad for the people who bought it thinking it was a finished product.
Well,
and I'm glad Steam actually was very good about that, and they refunded everyone who had bought it and didn't
yes,
want it.
but you also have to give the game some credit because it is playable, and I did spend at least 10 hours playing with my friends and having tons of fun on it. And I do know that it's quite a controversy, but that's why it's a controversy. If there would no one be playing this game, there wouldn't be big stories about it. There is actually quite a player base that do like the game and do like the gameplay, and are hoping for it to be made better.
Oh yeah, and I don't blame anyone for enjoying something. Obviously, that's none of my business what you enjoy in your personal time.
Yeah, it's basically like the game didn't have the controversy because it wasn't fun to play, because it was fun to play, right? It's because it promised stuff that it didn't have. It was lying.
It's because the developer, basically. It's not the gameplay or anything like that. Granted, I will still say it's got bad gameplay, but that's my personal opinion. It was more so the developer.
And that's going back to the point where we were talking about having demos instead of betas, because if you have an alpha or a beta for people to play, it's good, of course, because the developers get feedback, but it should not replace the demo, because the demo is to demo the final gameplay, so that people can choose whether or not they do agree and like it, and then either decide to buy the game or not. So that's what the point was, and I guess we kind of had different opinions about that, but
Yeah, well, moving on. Now we'll have something about the news and the DSU local campus. So, Chris, you're our end guy. Have anything to say?
Well, I know of a few events coming up. Like right now, there's actually going on is the Pokemon League. It's pretty much where you get a copy of your Black White or Black White 2 or whatever 5th generation game you have, and you go around and just pretty much battle other players on campus over Wi-Fi.
What if you only own red, blue, and yellow?
and you can go back to the 90s, my sir, good friend.
Yeah.
I'm a Pokemon purist. Thank you very much. Anything after 151, it's not real.
Well, there's
It never
one,
happened.
Well, there's one reason to feel good about ourselves. Because, come on, When we were playing Pokemon, our starters were a dragon, a giant turtle, or a gigantic personification of nature. People playing Pokemon now play with a giant animate ice cream, pieces of lawnmower, and the refrigerator.
That's actually
Sounds like something out of Kirby.
It sounds very true though. I do remember there is a Pokemon. I think it's called Trash.
Yeah, he's a trash can.
It's a gigantic.
I remember when my friend had showed me that. A friend of mine, Ashley, she's really, really into it, the whole Pokemon scene, and she was very mad because there's just an ice cream cone with a face.
Yeah, and then the evolution is 2 ice creams.
Yeah, double scoop,
it literally is
triple scoop.
It's like a
combo scoop.
ice cream cone. That's basically what it is.
It reminds me of Digimon back in the day.
Just a dinosaur with wings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was just the craziest
I remember
thing.
the biggest controversy on the playground back in the day was who ripped off who, Digimon or Pokemon. Luckily, we now have Google, so that answer has been solved, though I still haven't looked it up.
Yeah,
Who's that Pokemon? It's plagiarism!
Alright, well, another thing that's going on campus right now is Summoners League, which, weirdly, today there weren't a lot of people, but usually there are, and it's actually quite a cool event. I mean, a lot of people know League of Legends, and what the Summoners League basically does is all the people on campus who play frequently and enjoy League of Legends gather in the underground, which is the big basement area that the students can hang out. And they would all bring their computers and laptops and would just play League of Legends, and would actually have people commenting on like games. And it would be pretty cool. It felt really professional, and I was there twice, but it was a lot of fun. It's something different than sitting in your room and playing with 4 random people.
Even though you lost every single game.
I won 1. Don't even judge me.
So, Mufasa, do you have a gaming host topic for today you'd like to talk about?
Yes, what I want to talk about is everyone's favorite game, the League of Legends, which, come on, it's like the biggest thing here. Like, back here in DSU, it's bigger than football.
It actually is. I mean,
I've never played.
Football,
I'll admit that.
Our
And that's
football
why
team is not
we
that
got
great.
out.
Yeah, I've heard that our football team
I'm
is
out.
worse than the high school team.
I wasn't Peppin for a while, and literally we only got to play when we were scoring. I didn't play a lot. Anyway, moving on here. So we talked about campus news and we talked about game industry news, but let's kind of wrap this up. We were like half an hour, 40 minutes here into the show. Let's just finish this up here by talking about any games that came out recently that any of you guys played. Do you have any comments on it? For example, did someone play the Crysis 3 beta and can comment on it?
Actually, I have recently played a game called Antichamber. Have any of you heard of this yet?
I just saw it on Steam.
I just bought it last night because I just had to say it is the most psychological experience I've ever had in a game. Anything you know about conventional logic, you have to throw it out the window. It says jump, you fall. If you don't jump, you won't fall. Walk on air. You know why? What goes up must come down. If you never go up, you never fall down. That this game literally will teach you as you go along. It's one of those classic games that just teach you through the gameplay. Like, you learn as you go along. No one tells you, like, hey, you gotta go here and do this thing. Hey, you gotta go here and do this thing. To jump, press A. It's just like, walk around and you figure it out with your own mind. It's just this great feeling of accomplishment.
That's what it was like with the original Super Mario Brothers too. Like, in the first level, there's actually a block and a Goomba. Then they literally place it so that the Goomba, when Mario goes up to him, he will jump on the Goomba and hit the block. And then you'll realize, oh, you have to hit the block to get coins. Kill the Goombas. Easy.
Yeah, and this game, I really think you guys should just try playing it here. We could even do it right now, but podcast. It's just so... Everything, the colors especially, definitely stand out because the whole game is basically in this weird cel-shaded style where there is no color.
I did hear about an older game. I think it was for the Wii. It's where you take paint cans, you paint white blocks, and then the paint that you put on the blocks, it makes you do different things. So like a blue paint will make you jump higher, or yellow paint will make you reflect off of it.
I played that. It was awesome. I'm not even going to lie. It was so derpy, but it was cool.
This is a bit different, though, where the colors aren't doing anything. It's saying, like, I'm walking down this hallway, and all of a sudden I got 2 staircases. One's blue and one's red. And the little sign on the wall says, sometimes it doesn't matter what choice you make. So, okay, whatever. I choose blue. I'm in the same place. I choose red. I'm in the same place. And I sat there for a full half hour going up and down these stairs trying to think, like, is there a certain order? Is there something I'm supposed to do? All of a sudden, I turn around, I'm like, screw it, I'm leaving. So I turn around and walk back, and the whole level had changed, and there's a little sign on the wall that said, sometimes when you return, things aren't always what they used to be. And that's what told me, like, that's how I solved the first puzzle. It taught me as I went along.
So basically, it's the ending of Mass Effect 3. Like, your choice doesn't matter in the end.
Oh yeah, that's an entire.
Do you want to take the blue pill or the red pill?
One game I recently finished, which I was really glad I did, was Spec Ops: The Line.
Oh yes.
Gameplay wise, it was basically Call of Duty and Gears of War. I guess it wasn't special, but the story, holy shit, that was really great.
I wanted to keep going for the story, but to be honest, the monotony of the gameplay just ate me up. I just didn't want to keep playing it.
It was really repetitive, but the story really, it is really cool.
It makes you feel depressed. Like, I don't want to shoot you. Please don't attack. I don't want to kill you.
There's a really big twist at the end, and I'm not going to spoil it, but I definitely, if you own the game right now, you should definitely finish it. If you don't own the game, just watch a Let's Play on YouTube.
Wait for it to go on sale.
Yeah.
That's always a good thing to do.
The gameplay is not worth $60, $50. I'm not sure what the price range is right now.
I don't know. I picked it up for like $3 on Steam. So
$3?
Something like that. It was during the Christmas sale.
Oh, okay.
No, Green Man Gaming is where I picked it up because they had a 33% off plus 75% off.
Yeah, so definitely if you see it on sale, you should definitely check it out. It's a great story. It's not the best gameplay. It's a little bit unique. It's some new features, nothing special, but that was kind of my game that I finished recently, and I'm really glad I did. It was a great experience.
So basically, you're saying it's the opposite of Mass Effect 3. Like, for Spec Ops: The Line, you want to play the game for the ending. For Mass Effect 3, you don't want to play the game for the ending.
Okay, that's enough about Mass Effect 3.
Yeah,
I'm not going to lie, I love that game. That game was amazing.
I did not
The ending, even though the ending was a big controversy, and I'll be honest, I was let down. I was like, oh, that was it. I'm still glad I played it, because you know what? Everything up to the ending was pure gold. I enjoyed every second of that game, and I could not wait to continue playing it.
I remember playing the first Mass Effect. It was kind of clunky because, I mean, it had the children's, defect. It was the first Mass Effect. It had some problems.
Yeah.
A lot of walking was involved.
Oh.
But playing Mass Effect 2 was great. I loved it. It was a little bit too time-consuming, in my opinion, but it was really great.
Mass Effects, in my opinion, go in this order. Mass Effect 1 was the best one, 3 was the second best, and 2 is actually my least favorite because a lot of the things that I loved about Mass Effect 1 were not in 2. It did not immerse me in this world. It's like, you want to go on that planet down there? Well, you can spend 20 minutes scanning it. Whereas in the first one, I could actually land on that planet and drive. I'm sure there's nothing there. It's a barren planet. I didn't expect there to be anything there. But I literally was that guy who went to every single planet and did every single thing on every single planet, read every single dialogue box.
I do
and
remember.
it rewards you in the second one for that. You actually run into some of the random stuff you find on those planets in the second game. It affects it.
Yeah, I do remember that you were not able to drive with your, I think, mackerel.
The Mako.
The Mako.
The Mako, I think, yeah.
Mako, yeah. You were not able to drive around, which, in my opinion, was not that bad. Because I did spend a lot of time derping around and trying to flip my car over instead of actually doing the story.
And getting out of the car at the wrong time and falling down a mountain.
I do remember playing the first Halo, and you would always try to flip over your car just so you could hit it with your gun and flip it back over to the right side.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. So yeah, anyone else play any games recently that they want to comment on?
The only one that I've been playing recently that had a big update was Guild Wars, and they brought in a update for, I believe it's a Fire Dragon.
It's a prelude, so it's a living story.
Just for the record, we're talking about Guild Wars 2 here, right?
Guild Wars 2.
Yes, they stopped updating 1. They still do
update number 1.
Just let me finish. Actually, they stopped updating 1, adding new content, but they still update it in terms of this is causing lag, or there's a bug here, but they don't add new content to it.
They do. They had it was a winter wonderland kind of thing. They had a Christmas event.
That's not a new content. That's something that happens every year automatically, just like World of Warcraft.
Mm-hmm.
No, they have to make new content for the actual game. They make new mini games and stuff.
Oh, well, nothing to progress the
that's
story.
strange because I did read an article announced by them that they were stopping adding content for that game.
Maybe you guys are not talking about the same timeline here. Maybe that happened recently, and the article came out a week ago.
The article came out actually a few months ago.
I never really played Guild Wars. I remember my friend in Germany, back in Germany in high school, actually playing the first Guild Wars, and it was quite weird because MMORPGs were pretty big back then. I'm not gonna lie, the entire free-to-play and with all your friends on a computer. MMORPGs usually don't require those.
Of course, back then, free-to-play meant pretty crappy.
Yeah, but it was fun to play, and it was before the era of all those, consoles.
MapleStory.
Yeah. Well, that died out completely. Let's not even talk about
Actually,
that.
no, that just got onto Steam and has recently picked up popularity, sadly.
Well, yeah, from 1 to 2 people.
Yeah. Well, basically the reason you would want to play Guild Wars is because it's one of the only MMOs I've played that reward you for not being a dick. For example, look at World of Warcraft. Someone gets trying to kill a monster, you don't give a fuck. Because you're not getting anything from their kill. In Guild Wars 2, someone's fighting a monster, you help him kill him, you get the same reward.
We could go on a lot about Guild Wars 2, but they did, I think what he was saying is they did have a recent patch, if you want to talk about that a bit.
I haven't really gotten much into it, but it looks like it's going to be a nice, big, long storyline that will involve the Char homelands.
Yeah, they're going... It's not just the Char homelands. There was also...
the Norn.
The Norn. But it's like a prelude. What they're doing is introducing this thing called a living story, which basically... It unfolds as you play the game, and it's a once-in-a-lifetime event kind of thing, and it'll open up more content. And they also did a lot of updates to the classes and new dailies. New daily rotations to keep them fresh.
Yeah, basically how the living story is going on right now is that you're helping refugees who are fleeing from their homelands because of the bad weather condition, but it'll progress.
Yeah, we'll find out what it is later. We don't actually know what's coming up yet.
Yeah, alright. I'm not sure if you guys have any more games to talk about. The only thing I would mention right now is I'm still working on a THQ Humble Bundle. Which actually, yeah.
You bought that too?
I bought that.
I felt so sorry when I saw that camp come up that day. I was so sad, oh no, this is really rock bottom for them.
Well, I actually enjoyed it quite a lot. I gave them $10, and I think that was well worth spending.
I gave it $15 because I thought that's probably about the price I'd pay for an indie game. And to be honest, I already owned a majority of the games on the list. The only one I didn't own was Company of Heroes, and I still want to try that out because I know you were telling me earlier it's really
gameplay, and it's really hard to play multiplayer. My friend bought the bundle too, and we tried to play it. And as a strategy game, it's really unique and fun, but it's damn hard.
Yeah.
Just the thing that I do not understand is the hate for Darksiders, especially Darksiders 1. A lot of people just say, oh, it's just Zelda and God of War combined and it's crappy, but
Zelda and God of War combined sounds like the most amazing thing ever. I would love that.
It is great. I love the storyline, I love the art, I love the graphics,
why would that be a bad game? It's that really great game you played and that other really great game you played? They put the two together. Why would you count that as a bad thing?
I don't know. They have the best of everything. I mean, it is really you fight now, boom! Now you solve puzzles for an hour. And it might be a little bit boring at some point, but it was a great game. And there's so much content. There's a portal gun, there's a grappling hook, there's a gun.
I know there's a lot of people who hate those puzzle
frisbee knife, whatever the hell you call that thing. You have 3 main weapons. There's so many combos you can do. You have a special form, you have 4 forms. It just keeps going and going.
The Darksiders IP is being picked up by the Bayonetta developers.
I'm glad about that then. Bayonetta was a fantastic
I did not get to play that. Is that the one where you play the witch or something?
To be honest, I can't remember what it was. She was. I was just killing stuff.
Yeah, well, I have one problem with the Bayonetta people picking up the Darksiders IP because basically they're making Bayonetta 2 a Wii U exclusive. Now, I don't want to see Darksiders 3 as a Wii U exclusive.
They're not making it a Wii U exclusive because they're Bayonetta. They're making it a Wii U exclusive because when they went to Sony, who were the original publishers of Bayonetta, they're like, hey, we want to make Bayonetta 2. Sony said no. They went to someone else, they said no. They go everywhere and everyone's saying no. Nintendo, now with the Wii U, they said, yeah, sure. So that's how they're repaying Nintendo for actually completely funding their game, is by making it an exclusive on their system. That doesn't mean this company is going to make nothing but exclusives for the Wii U.
Yeah, right. So that was a pretty good thing here. So I think for our first podcast, we're about 45 minutes in here. We can have last words, but I think for the pilot episode, we're pretty much done here.
All right. We will see you guys. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was just going to say something we in DSU have a pretty big international community. And like 21st February, it's pretty big deal for when back home or I'm from Bangladesh, because it's basically the International Mother Language Day, where we all celebrate every language where we speak. And like for example, Christian speaks in German. So if you wanna like come over and like be a part of it, just drop by the DSU International Club meetings.
Yeah, while we're promoting things, we have the Blacklight Dance coming up, and it's going to be the second one this semester, and it's going to be featuring DJ Core, who is actually a really awesome professional DJ that is coming on, and he's been performing in, I think, Sioux Falls, The Vault, which is a pretty well-known club, actually. So, that's made by the KDSU Club, which I'm also a member of, and I'm trying to be a DJ, actually. And we're going to have a Blacklight Dance in the undergrounds in DSU. And I really encourage you guys to go check it out. The last Blacklight Dance was pretty cool. Obviously, some people didn't really like the entire dubstep thing, but that was obviously just
personal
the theme.
choice.
So this DJ Chorus Con, he's doing some really great stuff. So if you just want to check it out, you should definitely go. Blacklight dances are a lot of fun.
Right. Anyone else got anything?
Well, I'm just gonna say, if we're promoting stuff, something new is actually just this little group that is on DSU campus, and they meet like every Thursday and just hang out and have fun with friends. So if you're interested, just go. We usually hang out in like Higbee at 7. Just if you go there and ask around, you probably find us. It'd be pretty fun.
Reed, did you have anything to?
Well, there's going to be another computer club meeting coming up, and this will be the first one for the semester. So just letting people know.
Alright, so we had the International Club, we had the club that just hangs out and has fun. We have KDSU, which is the internet radio, where we probably will be streaming this podcast at some point. Definitely another thing to check out if you're in the entire gaming industry, game design idea. The Game Design Club of DSU is actually working right now on a legit game that is promoted by what's it called? The Native Americans who lived here in South Dakota.
The Sioux community, I guess.
Yeah, and we're trying right now to make a text adventure to promote the Indian language that is slowly dying out. So that's a kind of cool thing. And another thing you guys should just check out if you're on campus, Thursday nights, the Gaming Club. It's literally just whoever wants to play. It doesn't matter if you want to play Magic the Gathering, a board game, or you just want to meet some people to play League of Legends with. We just meet in the cafeteria and just hang out. And those are just like the main clubs that are going on right now at DSU that we should probably mention in here that are kind of related. So I think for our first podcast, we're kind of at the end right now. We'll have a decent amount of content here. If you guys have any last words, you can say whatever. So
no, I think we're done here.
All right, so
signing off.
Tune in next week. We're trying to make this a weekly thing. And again, my name is Christian.
I'm Christian as well.
I am Mustafa.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Reed.
And you're listening to BlinkCast.